part of class action, and we're challenging this. We think this is completely unlawful.
Yes.
And we will be challenging it in court. And that is an issue that we'll be raising in court as well. Okay, the quarantine fee is again a contradiction. It is not, it is an inconsistency. That is not how public health is managed in this nation. Okay. Biosecurity Act does not acknowledge hotels as an appropriate site for quarantine. Okay. It doesn't acknowledge people paying for their own fees. It allows rights of review. It has triage, and it has appropriate notices. Correct. It has you have to be properly examined. Again, I repeat all of those things because this has all been circumvented here. Right. Okay. And you are under duress.
Yeah. So a few people have I've actually put an action plan together, sort of covering what you've said, Serene.
Right.
And basically,
make work together. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I've got a delay tactic in there. Yes, exactly. But also asking people that if they are part of the class action, I've actually given them a little spiel to write to whatever revenue state it is to say that they are part of a class action, and that they will not be responsible for paying this fee until that has been decided in the High Court. So that's what
and we're going to be launching the class action very soon. Okay, so it's going to have that legitimacy and the weight because the class action will be there. Okay, challenging the quarantine fee.
Exactly.
Now, the other very important thing here as well is this that many people who are vulnerable have had the government take out money from their payments that they get from government.
Yes. Okay. So they've been garnished.
They've been garnished. Yes, they've been garnished. Okay. And so the person must write right away that this is causing them psychological trauma.
Yes.
Okay. That any of them doing this is psychologically abusive.
Okay.
Because they never consented to those fees.
Yeah.
Okay. And they are not to take out any monies involuntarily and without their consent from any of their pension or any of their entitlements. This is actually beyond abusive.
Yep. And don't call, write. Get everything in writing.
Get everything in writing.
And ask for acknowledgement when you actually write in as well.
Put something in writing and then call, because sometimes you'll get a really nice officer on the telephone.
Yeah.
And then you can negotiate and they'll put a stop to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they'll the reality is the government is cluing on. I mean, they're pushing people right to the edge here. Yeah. Okay. This is right on the edge stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is so abusive. Yeah. I mean, on so many levels. This is false imprisonment. I mean, you're holding people against their will and then you're telling them to pay for it. And people who are really vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Let alone the mental health damage that you've created on people.
Exactly, because people have had such a hard time getting back in the first place. I mean, I know that we're not doing anything about this at the moment, but that's going to be something for the future, looking at travel bans in and out of Australia, the flight caps,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that will happen, people. Don't worry about that. So even though we're not addressing this today, it will happen further down the track. Which I'm very, very excited about.
Prioritization of the issues.
Yeah, exactly.
The priority for me when I looked at all the issues, the most offensive things that are happening that are actually creating mental health issues on people and creating a lot of trauma is this aspect of detention, fees, testing, forced testing. And these are the issues that we're immediately dealing with. Flu vaccination, the mandating of flu vaccination, and restrictive behaviours where you're not being able to visit your mum, your loved one at the hospitals and the residential aged care facilities. So we're dealing with those issues because they're creating a lot of horror stories for people immediately. Yes, overseas travel is something important, and the coming back into the country is very important, and it's causing a lot of trauma, I understand, but there's more trauma that is being caused by the immediacy of those other issues.
Exactly. And my contention is, and I've said this all along, because if you think about it logically, if there is no hotel quarantine, then there is no reason to cap flights.
Without a doubt.
So if people are quarantining at home, then why are we capping flights? So that's always my contention.
Totally. This is about a dramatization. This is about dramatizing COVID pandemic when there really isn't an issue. This is about money making. This is about control. This is about social experimentation. Okay. Social experimentation has been happening by governments for a very long time. Okay, and it's very hard for people to understand that, but there are many places that they do social experiment. The psychiatric wards of the hospitals have been a social experiment for 100 years. Okay, and people have been suffering, but you don't hear their voices because they're the most vulnerable. But now, for the first time, the government is putting its hand on the middle class. Okay, so now you're being touched. So people are like, oh, we didn't think we're going to be touched by government. All of a sudden, and government is coming to really molest you. You know, they want to abuse you now. They've already abused the Indigenous. They've already abused a lot of women that are vulnerable. They've already abused children with all the vaccinations that they've been given over the last 5 years. That is why you have to ask yourself the question. I mean, people are really, as I said, quite idiotic, because they're telling you to mask, and they're saying it's a lethal disease, and yet children are immune from it. Now use your noggin a little bit, like use your brain just for a fraction of a second. It's just a fraction of a second. This is sheer stupidity. This is really dumb. If there was a virus that is going to attack adults, by jolly, it will annihilate children. Okay, you see people, all the adults are masked and their children are exposed. Okay, now, for a fraction of a second, just as I said, it's just a millisecond. Have a think about this stupid contradiction. You know, and people are complying with this. This is insanity. And then they brought out this whole thing with the COVID-19. Oh, this is only for adults. It's not going to be mandated for children. Yeah, thank you so much. You've already mandated everything else under the sun for kids. You know, the adults have been taking them, having all 40 jabs. You know, your kids have been jabbed already. They already experienced your horror at your own hands. Okay, but are you an anti-vaxxer? Are you an anti?
Well, and that's a really interesting thing as well, because you see that people are getting, and I see it in my group as well. Once we start talking about vaccines, people are very much not in two camps, but if you go, actually, you know what, I'm not really across this vaccine. Oh, you're an anti-vaxxer.
I'm not anti-vax. I'm anti-quarantine, but I'm not anti-vax. So please don't talk to me about anti-vax.
Really interesting.
I allow the government to jab in me anything that is completely unsafe and untested, but I'm going to get really offended when it's about quarantine. No,
it's really interesting.
Yes, it doesn't matter whether they're jabbing you, whether they are testing you, whether they are quarantining you, whether they are detaining you, whether they are molesting you. It doesn't really matter. It's the same issue, is what can government do to me? Now, I have a very strong point on this. Not all vaccines are created equal, okay? There are some vaccines that have been trialed and tested and have been shown. Now, for me, I'm someone who looks at the facts. Oh, yeah, let's read some facts here, okay? And look at issues. So there's certain vaccines that may have had some relevance in terms of that, and maybe keeping them is sufficient, but not all vaccines are created equal, and particularly when we are talking about respiratory type illnesses, okay? It has been shown that vaccines, well, efficacy-wise, are almost really not efficient, okay? And we've got the Cochrane review that has supported those conclusions, okay? And particularly a vaccine that has been circumvented in terms of safety and in terms of efficacy studies, the way that this has been accelerated with quite a dangerous benchmark line, which is mRNA vaccine. Yes, you should ask your brain a little bit, like as I said, a fraction of a second. Oh, maybe actually them circumventing safety studies isn't really a good idea. So at the end of the day, you want to make them vaccines, you got to create the freedom of choice and the informed consent of individuals.
Exactly.
You shouldn't be wanting to stab everybody against their will and create punishment for that. There is absolutely no difference.
There should be no coercion.
Exactly. There's no difference between vaccine and detention.
There will be comments about the vaccine side of things. Guarantee it. But, you know, I'm not anti-vaccine, but I am anti-coercion and anti-bullying about having to have a vaccine that may or may not be safe because it's been brought to market so quickly.
And that is exactly where our issue is. Yeah. And that is what we're doing with the other action as well. We're doing People for Safe Vaccines, and we're addressing those issues because they're the same issues. Government doing things and circumventing things without the science.
Coercion. We're coerced into quarantine. We're coerced in not being able to come home via the flight caps, or the airlines are coerced actually. Coerced into... gosh, you know, wearing masks or whatever. I mean, I was in Vietnam for 4 years. Masks for me are neither here nor there, but I prefer not to wear one, you know, and I certainly try not to. I'm a bit of a COVID rebel, actually, but that's between you and me and the group.
I mean, as I said, like right now as well, the masking stuff in the public is not there, but you see families, they're masking, but the kids are not. You know, as I said, these are deep contradictions. I mean, this is not science. Do not present it to me as science.
Exactly.
When it is taboo, or when it is just simply a social conditioning and manipulation.
Yeah.
Let's call it
and
out.
a lot of it's virtue signaling, you know, look at me, I'm doing the right thing, and you know,
I just learned what that meant.
Yeah. Oh,
I just recently learned what
great, isn't it? I know, I learned it at the beginning of the year as well. I had no idea. I'm going, oh my God, now everything's virtue signaling. That's crazy. Serene, what about if people are outside Australia at the moment and they want to join the class action? Is that okay? Can they do that if they haven't even gone through quarantine yet?
Yeah, definitely. If they want to, you know, if they want to say that we don't want to actually come back because we don't want to participate in hotel quarantine, that's also an issue for them. So people who don't want to return because they stand so much about their integrity and, you know, their bodily integrity and all that, you know, they couldn't even stand. Like if I was in that situation, I probably wouldn't come back. Because hotels, I can't cope with hotels. I'm claustrophobic. You know, I'm like, oh my God, give me space. You know, I couldn't even imagine being put into a hotel. I couldn't even deal with the air conditioning. I've got allergies. Shitty. I've got a whole lot of stuff. And you see, if I wanted to return and I was overseas and I needed to get certificates from doctors to say, please don't put me in hotel quarantine, they don't care. They don't care. It's putting people in unless you're going to be on a deathbed. I mean, I've got people who've had serious issues and they've applied and they've been denied. Okay.
Probably because they're not wealthy or a celebrity or a sports star or similar.
Because their application is not being read. Okay.
Right. Okay.
You know, this is so abusive that applications are simply not being read anymore. Okay. They're just processing people through. Okay. And it is just disgraceful.
So people are also worried about if they join the class action, will it affect their ability to travel in the future, either in or out of the country? What's your view on that?
Yeah, well, look, unless you're going to be a lead, there's not going to be a sort of a very clear record of you. Okay?
Right.
So I mean, those records might be happening within the court framework, but it's not a public. It's not a public exchange.
I'm happy to go on public. I'm not a lead, but I'm happy to go public. That's fine.
So our leads are actually the ones that will go in the front bench.
Now, you were saying that you need a lead for Melbourne. Can you just explain a little bit about what that's about, so people hopefully can put up their hand and come forward?
Absolutely, Diane. Thank you so much. So we, because hotel quarantine has been reignited in Melbourne.
That's the worst one.
And the upgraded version. You know, hotel quarantine in Melbourne.
Oh God.
It's like Psycho Hotel, you know.
Yeah, it is.
What I'd really want exactly. What I'm really looking for is a lead in Melbourne, okay, for the hotel quarantine issue. And we're trying to get a lead as soon as possible. So if there's a first lot of people who come back into hotel quarantine and you'd like to apply, please send me an email and give me a call. We'll put all of my details, you know, in the link. We really need a lead in the hotel quarantine Melbourne, okay, before we launch out. It'll be like the piece de resistance.
Icing on the cake.
It's the icing on the cake.
Icing on the quarantine cake.
Quarantine, Melbourne. It comes back top. Again. It goes full circle. you know, and so that would be really fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, just to get that lead.
Just out of curiosity, what's involved in being a lead, so people are aware of what they will, I guess, sign up to?
Yes. So what it is that you'll be representing that issue in the claim. We will be putting comprehensively your story. We will be naming you. It is a public document, so you will be named and you will be known. Okay, and you will be spearheading that action on behalf of everyone in your class that is impacted by the same issue. My preference is that you don't own property. Okay.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people get angry with me about this. You know, a lot of people have gone, you're exploiting people. Serene, you're an exploitative person.
No, because this is about protecting the lead, correct?
Well, actually, it's not. If the lead, yeah, and I'll be honest, I will say, you know, the lead is someone who's brave, who's putting their name across. Okay. You are taking the lead because you are actually saying, hey, I'm going to go in the forefront and hold the flag on behalf of everyone. Okay. And I'm going to be exposed to the risks of being at the front. Right. The thing is this, that should anything happen, I don't plan to lose, but obviously I plan with everything as a lawyer. Okay. So if there is any loss, it will be very difficult to pursue a lead who doesn't have money.
Exactly. Exactly.
So the government, and it's unlikely for the court to then come down hard on a lead like that. Does that make sense? Yeah, because they're extremely vulnerable.
Sense. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm using the system to try and create a better outcome for everybody and protect people, really. Okay. Yeah. But the lead is someone to be celebrated. The lead is a brave person. They are really most vulnerable. Yeah. They are the most vulnerable
because they're putting themselves out. I mean, I am too, but I'm not actually doing this via court because I have property, so it's a little bit more of a risk for me. But you know, a lead is putting themselves out there more than what I am, for example.
Oh, 100%. So the lead you know,
absolutely brave.
Okay, and they're amazing, and they should be celebrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're taking the fall for all of us, really, aren't they? And they're presenting the case for all of us. Yeah.
They really are. And they are the most vulnerable. Yes, they are. They truly are. I love my lead. I really like, you're amazing. And they are very vulnerable. Yeah. Okay. And they need to be supported throughout this process as well. So that is a part of the things I do. So it's not like, I'm exploiting people. I'm bringing, you know, I'm trying to be strategic. Okay. I'm trying to be a clever lawyer. Okay. And you know, I don't know how clever I can be when you're dealing with such an abusive system, but I'll try. I'm going to give it a crack. Well, and I'm going to try to protect everybody that is part of my class action as much as I can, and celebrate those that do take the risk. But I know psychologically that a judge will be very careful how they'll deal with a case like this. Because it's not about my money. This is about my rights.
Exactly.
I'm a vulnerable person who has been exploited by government.
Right. Okay. Exactly.
And I am making a stand. Exactly. And that is an extremely brave thing.
It's an extremely brave thing. Is there anything that we can do as a group to help support those leads? Because obviously, as I said, you know, not worthy.
I'm going to be doing a little bit of an email to all of the class action participants to see if we can raise a little bit of funds. Yeah. Particularly for them. Okay. In terms of just supporting them with their bills and everything, because these people are very poor. You know, they're on disability pensions. You know, they have experience. They're going to the psychologist because of what's happened to them with the abuse. Okay. So I'm just trying to see if I can do something like that, and so I will do a bit of a run on that. But I will let all my class action participants.
Fantastic. And then I can post to the group. Yeah. Really no. And
look, that's really for me, it's the hardest thing. I mean, how do you organize 2,500 people? Yeah. You know, it's a big task. I'm challenged by that daily. Yeah. You know, and I wish I could be available for every single person. Yeah. but, I'm available for the most vulnerable in our group,
yeah,
in our class action. And I'm just really hoping that everybody rallies behind this and really understands the wisdom of what we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. I've got to say a big thank you to you, Serene, as well, because I know how busy you are, and the fact that you're responding to comments in the group and actually asking people to call you. I mean, I just can't imagine your workload at the moment. So I wanted to extend a big thank you on behalf of my group members, and just to say we really appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, really appreciate it.
It's really important that this group is there, and I thought that was really extremely clever of what you've done, and you're creating a voice for people. You're creating a platform.
And we're growing.
Leader, so you're growing, and you're very passionate.
Yeah.
And you're very intelligent and logical.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. And we need people like yourself who we need to look at uniting.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And educating, and and I do apologize for before calling people a bit idiotic.
No.
I get frustrated sometimes.
You've seen how much. You've seen how much swearing goes on in my group. I'm always calling them on the F and this, F and that. The only word I don't allow is the C word, but everyone knows that. But apart from that, I'm always calling politicians idiots, and so it's not.
I mean to say that. Look, I think people are extremely vulnerable. I think people might not be very educated, and they need to be provided the opportunity to be educated. Okay, and become educated.
Exactly.
People to become educated. It is illogical. We're talking here about irrational illogicality. We're talking about you're not sick, you don't have symptoms, you don't come from a country that is symptomatic. Why are you being hotel quarantined? And if I turn up with a bit of red eye and sniffles, why are you carting me off without doing the examination?
Exactly.
So start asking those questions.
Exactly.
And start reflecting.
And it's, I think the one great thing about my group is that, it's our group really, because, I'm only as smart as the people in it, and the people who post and comment and share information, they really have broadened my ideas and expanded my worldview and not changed my perspective, but sometimes I see things a certain way, and then someone comments, I'm like, oh yeah, right, that's really how it is. So I have to take my hat off to the people in the group who comment and post and share their perspectives and their views as well, because it's actually making me smarter. So I'm really grateful. And when I first saw your video, Serene, when you were talking about the Biosecurity Act, that was kind of like a light bulb moment for me, and I went, holy cow, this is A, you're awesome, but B, this is, what is the government doing? Why have they declared it a pandemic and they completely ignored the legislation around it? I just went, what? Mind blowing. And then I went, this is a class action waiting to happen.
It is actually. It is. And it's simple, fundamental core things like notice, service, examination, risk assessment, notification of your rights, your duties, the right of review, the right of appeal. These are very basic things that should be a natural part of our society. And they're part of any democratic society. You don't create you don't hold people and quarantine people who are healthy. And you most certainly would not deal with people who are sick in this indignified manner either. Okay, and that's what I'm seeing in both sides. I'm seeing that they're focusing on healthy people and punishing healthy members of the community, but they're also punishing the vulnerable through the aged care. And the nurses and the doctors in that arena are very problematic too. I mean, we've got a lot of trauma that has resulted in hospitals and residential aged care facilities because of the way that nurses and doctors are behaving. And then we've got a lot of trauma that has occurred in the community because of how the police are responding.
Right. Well, that apartment block, for example, that was locked down in Melbourne, with no notice.
We're challenging that too. We will be launching that and the detention towers. So we've already got all our people all lined up in the class action.
That's awesome.
So that was on another level. That was like false imprisonment on acid,
Right.
And it's like, yeah, man, we're just gonna go in there and we're not gonna even let them know what we're doing, and we're just gonna throw them food like they're nothing. okay, and we're going to treat
horrified.
them like nothing, you know. It's
horrified,
it's shocking, you know.
Yeah.
And this is the police officers, truly. They really need to think about what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, we've reached a point. It makes me cry, honestly, because I see, you know, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, you're relishing in your power trip.
I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing what someone has told me to.
But they're enjoying their power trip. You know, they're really relishing in this, you know, let's all get them, you know, I mean, what, you're going to shoot the virus?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. War on the virus.
We heard that it has different strains. You know, this virus is a shapeshifter. You know, we're just gonna get it good. You know, I mean, it's like, what the hell? Are you all like, where am I? In some cowboy land, you know?
That was the thing in South Australia. They said it was a completely just different strain. So that they were trying to justify that.
Semi-automatics, you know, the South Australian police. What are you going to do?
So special.
Semi-automatic. What are you going to shoot the virus? I mean, seriously.
So special.
What is going on with your brain? You know, and this is the scary part.
I know.
You know, this is the scary part that you have people who think this way. You know, and if people are going out without a mask, you're gonna kill me. You know, I've had so many. You're a murderer. You're a murderer without a mask. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
I'm scared for society.
Yeah, and you know, we've also said that the media is not helping, but people were very, very keen to share their stories early on, but now they're not so keen because they're actually realizing how manipulative the media is, and they're actually having a go back at the media, which is fantastic. So I've got a few journalists in my group who are very good. Very good, but there are journalists in other groups that are just creating content, you know. So the journalists that I tag, I trust, but generally speaking, you know, it's been the media beat up, I hate to say, a lot of it, and it's for attention.
Absolutely, Dan. I'm so pleased that you're here. I'm so pleased that you're back in the country.
Oh, me too.
You know, you've had to
get my cat home.
You've walked through the fire. You've got your cat coming back to you, which is wonderful. But you know, I think we're uniting, and I'm so it's such a pleasure.
Me too. Thank you.
Connect with you on this level. You are an absolutely gorgeous woman, in and out.
Thank you. Ditto, right back at you. Thank you so much. So, this is a Saturday. You've taken up, you know, I really appreciate the time that you've taken up to speak to us, you know.
My pleasure. And as I said, it's really important to just create awareness. We are on our way with this. We've got experts lined up. We have wonderful barristers. You know, it's been a work in the making, you know, and I'm confident going in with the veracity of what we've looked at. I'm happy to play all my cards, you know. I'm letting the government know what they're doing because they're all like morons, you know. And you know, like, you guys are like, hello, what's going on upstairs, you know. But but I'm happy. I mean, this is their own policies. These are their own medical standards they're not following. These are their own laws that they're ignoring.
They did this to themselves, basically.
They have. They have. And it's time for them to become answerable. Okay, for
accountable.
The failures and for them falsely purporting things that are just insanity as science. Okay,
exactly.
Absolutely. You know, I'm also a nutritionist and a dietitian.
Yes.
You know, and you know, I love science. In fact, my calling is science rather than law. You know, I just happen to have loud mouth, so. So this suits me fine. but you know, and an ability to make fun of myself. So you know, gotta be a lawyer. but I love science, you know, and when people start to, you know, hurling science, like, oh, who are you? Were you an expert in science? I'm not holding myself out, but you know what?
I know a bit.
I know a little bit. I can tell you, this is not science.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. One last question: is there a cut-off date for my group to join the class action?
No, the class action in its nature is sort of a rolling thing, and it
cool.
involves everyone. So there's no real cut-off.
Excellent.
It's a rolling thing.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Serene. Thank you. I'll pause the recording now. Hopefully it's all worked.